G'day everybody, welcome back. Over the last couple of videos you've seen us doing stuff and a couple of shorts where we've taken the walls off, taken the roof off and generally got it done. Very boring watching me drill out approximately, this is an estimate, 12,000 rivets. But it's come off all right, it looks okay. But there's still some issues and we're going to show you, and then we're going to have a good look, and then we're going to wash it and work out what we do after that. Let's go. So a very brief background. Ex-council van, parked up for 30 years, bought by us, paid not much. Aluminium clad exterior, steel clad interior. Interior's gone to the dump, aluminium's gone into the container. Things that we found, and we'll start on the outside and we'll go through. All the metal that's good remains good. Some stuff still looks okay, it just needs a bit of a wire brush and we'll get this scungy looking shit off. But in the back, in Australia, passenger side, there is at least 4 pieces to replace. So the back's taken an impact from underneath, and that's a pretty simple one. We just cut it off here, there, and just replace it. Probably a 10-15 minute job if things go well, so probably 2 hours in reality. There was a water leak at the top, and I'll show you the insides in a minute. But at the bottom, we've lost a rail at the bottom between 2 uprights and another one here. Now we've cut this piece out because I needed to measure the wall thickness, and it's not very thick. It's probably only 2.5, maybe 2.5 mil. Welded. We may have to replace this upright, so we'll cut it here and cut it somewhere up here and zip it all back together. Now my intention is to replace as little as possible to maintain the original holes, but also the structural integrity. So that's problem child 1 on the outside, and we'll just finish off stepping in. Here we go. At the top of that same section, we have some fairly major issues to resolve. So this piece here will get replaced. Back to here, it's also rusty here, which corresponds to that piece down the bottom. So probably from here through there, and we'll work out how this is all joined. We still need to get the pop rivets out and the remains. The wire brush should take care of most of the pop rivets, but those that don't, hammer and a drill. This arch here is rusty, so we'll bring this back to about here. How am I going to bend the curve? Well, I'm not. I'm just going to replace a little short section. Working from that corner around to the front, so this is the driver's side in Australia. Everything else is pretty good on this side. We have a hole in the top of the wheel arch. That's not a problem. This thing is never going back on the road. And then it's pretty good all the way through. The top of the frame so far, haven't found a lot of issues. There was another water leak on this side, about halfway up, but it doesn't seem too bad. Or at least that we found. Now, obviously when we wire brush it, we might find some more mystery. The front was pretty good, and then we get to this piece. So this is the front, well, this is the door at the front, and this piece is okay until about here, and then it gets crappier here, and then it's crappy down the bottom. So there was a water leak through here, and it's also affected the door. But the other one that I found, if I can find it again, I forgot my texter, is here. So stand on the wheel arch. So we'll have to replace this from what's welded here. So I'll probably come back this far, take it through to about here, and just replace a little section. If we look down this way, it looks pretty good. The top, right up the top on the arch, not too bad. Getting the roof off was a bit of a pain. And before I put the roof back on, I'll need to support it here so I can actually get on it to put it back in. So section there, oh there it is, I knew I could see it. And here's another hoop. I've gone too far. There's another hoop here that needs to be replaced. And again, it'll only be a short bit. Door wise, there's a hole in this piece and a hole down here. So it's pretty clear there was a water leak around the door and it's come down the inside, and at the back there was a water leak in the back left corner and it's come down through here. Not a lot of problems. Now when I say not a lot of problems, I mean it. That's maybe 4 metres of steel, a good day with a welder and a grinder and someone to hold on to it while we put the molten sparks into it, and it should be pretty good. That doesn't mean that progress is going to stop though while we do that or while we get set up to do that. Anything that's not rusty can get treated. Take for example, here we are on the driver's side in Australia. From that corner all the way through to this corner is perfectly acceptable. It needs to get wire brushed, and we're going to do so in a minute and take a look. And then we'll put a rust converter on and then put an epoxy primer top coat thinker rather on it, and that'll be it, because it's going to get covered up. As soon as this wall is done, as soon as this frame is done on this side, I can start putting the walls back on, because the walls go from the bottom up to the top, and then the roof goes on after the top curves go on. The front comes from the bottom up as well. But that's where we run into the problem. The problem is the windows. Right now, it's got lots of windows everywhere. So we can put windows wherever we want, which is good because we're going to. The problem I have is that I don't have the windows. But next weekend, we're off to a Caravan wreckers where they sell pallets of windows from the 1960s and 70s for not very many pesos. Or we might go fancy and get fancy ones, but more pesos. And remember, we're trying to do this on a realistic budget, which is 9/10 of not much. And the other elephant in the room is, what's all this stuff? Well, this is the floor. So the floor actually had 2 layers. It had a layer of what in Australia we'd call marine ply, which is a heavily protected ply. And then on top of that, it had some brown board, which is a compressed board. Now, I'm not going to throw these away. I'm going to fall off them. I'm not going to throw these away because I can use them as templates to cut the new floor, to put a new floor in, which is what I'm going to do. But before I can do that, I have to wash all this and clean it all up, and I have to get all of these screws out. So these screws would not come out with a screwdriver, so we basically physically remove the floor. How does the floor look? Well, when they finished building the Titanic, they built this chassis. It is as solid as. It's got 1/4 inch steel, or 5 or 6 mil angle. It's got big square pipe. It's got lots of bracing, a bit more bracing. Yeah, the floor isn't going to go anywhere. It's just going to get a wire brush on the top surface only and a clean off, and then we'll put some primer on it and bang the floor in. I'm not going to put the new floor in until I've got at least the roof on and possibly the walls, because I don't want to have a wet spot on the floor if we get a big rainfall, which does happen. So that's what we've got. I am going to take all the brake assemblies off too, because of reasons. The only other thing that we've worked out is we need a new set of stairs. I've nearly fallen off of these things about 6 times. They're unevenly spaced, different heights, and quite frankly unsafe. So that's a Facebook Marketplace problem. So let's get the hose out and give this thing a bath. 600 litres of water later and a free bath, let's go and take a look. So as you'd expect, no real extra surprises. It's a little bit wet in here, so I need to just not fall over. No surprises, everything hosed out pretty well, pretty clean. I can see why the mud guards have rust on them, because they have that little curve. We got 3 extra spiders off and generally got the schmuzzo on the first pass off. Yeah, so what's next? Well, after this dries and I do a week and a half at work, we're going to the Caravan wreckers to look for windows. There's going to be a window there and a kitchen module which will fit from the door across there. This is layout 1 as discussed. There will be a king size bed in this back corner with a narrow window at the top where your head goes, and a couple of big picture windows in that corner there. I need the windows so I can put the framing in, and then potentially a window here and maybe match on the other side, plus a couple of skylights and some whirlybirds. 12 volt system at this stage with a generator for backup. All the power is going to go on the front on the A-frame, and all the batteries and all that sort of hoo-ha will go under the bed with a couple of drawers as well. So there'll be storage and space and lights and maybe an air conditioner if I can find one that I can hook to a generator if I need to. Now, what's going to tow it? Well, I can tow it with a car once I take that stupid metal cutting thing off and the jockey wheel off and maybe replace that. I've got to put a couple of feet on the back, but I have somewhere else around here something more useful. What I have is a big old tractor that's got a hitch pin thing on it that I could use. Easy enough to jack it up and down, put it in, drop a pin in. I can take the 3-point linkage arms off because they don't work, but I have to find a tyre because this one's shagged. So that's a 18.4 by 28, and there's rarest rocking horse shit on the second-hand market, but we'll find one. The one on this side's pretty good. So, and all this tractor does is just drive around. So that, well, we're going to cut that in half for a fire tub, but we're not going to put that in the van. So there you go. That's where we're up to. At this stage, I think we're at the repair part. So that's where the Caravan's up to. Pretty happy. The welding and the fixing, no, it is what it is, big deal. Lots of wire brushing, and then we'll wire brush for half a day or whatever, and then paint, and then work our way around it. And once it's all painted and the windows are framed up and all that sort of gear, then we'll start rebuilding it. Once I do have the windows, if I'm confident on the bottom, from this mid-rail down, I can start putting the bottom sheets back on, which I may do as well because reasons. Oh, look, a lizard. See, I've got rid of the spiders, but not the lizards. Anyway, thanks for watching. We're nowhere near done yet, obviously. Outside walls, inside walls, roof, inside, blah, power, etc. It's going to take a long time. Thanks for watching. See you next time.